Hello everybody, Eric from Montreal, Canada. I'm trying to help a few people cover a topic I had a hard time finding any information on, and that is converting an older model FLH. Mine is an ultra classic fuel injected, from removing the tourpack and installing a 4-point docking system. Everywhere you go on the internet says that it's not available for the FLHTCUI, and the only reason they say it's not available is because it's not really plug and play with all the lights, the CBs, and the antenna that they have on the Ultra Classic. But that by no means says that you can't do it. It's just a little bit more involving, and I'll try and show you people how to do it today, how I did it. I'm not a mechanic by any means. I have played with bikes all my life, and so this is it. First thing, obviously, seat removal. Give me a second so I don't scratch my paint. I am alone, so don't mind my camera skills. Okay, first thing you want to do is take out the liner inside your tour pack. You got to remove the screws where you keep your documents, and then just slide everything out. I am doing this with one hand, so bear with me. Okay, inside the tour pack, there's a few things. First connection is this one here in the corner. This is for your rear lights that are on the tour pack. You have the antenna for the FM radio, and you have the antenna for the CB. These are all things that are going to have to be rewired. It's not a big thing, and I'll show you how I did it. First of all, the CB antenna as well as the radio antenna all come out. CB comes out on this side here, throttle side, and the antenna comes out of this rubber grommet here, which is brake side. What I did is I took off the sleeve off the entire thing, and I coiled them up. And if you can see, there's the CB antenna and the radio antenna, and they're all coiled. I'm not going to pull on my wires too much because everything is zip tied nicely into place. So when the solo seat comes on, it comes off easy. I also had a grab bar that was here. Obviously that can't stay on if you put a solo seat on. So once the antenna and the CB are coiled up, tucked away in here nice and tight, you have to open up your speakers, both sides. And in both sides of the speakers, you're going to find this connector here. Okay, obviously the other end is connected. This is inside of your speaker. The best way to do this is to relocate that wire completely. And what I mean is to cut the wire inside the speaker. Now there's actually 6 wires in each side of the speakers. Only 2 are for the speakers. The other 4 are for the push to talk, as well as the volume on the sides of the speakers. If you disconnect inside the speaker, that's fine. You could do it that way. You can pull the wire out from where it comes out of the speaker, and eventually the connector will come out. You can disconnect it there. I didn't want that because I didn't want a mess of wires to deal with once the tour pack is off. So what I did is I cut the wire, this wire here, I cut it short inside the speaker, and I reversed the wire. So now here, tucked in where the battery is the other end of this connector here, which connects to here. So now when I remove the tour pack, all this wiring goes with the tour pack. I'm sure everybody is familiar with these connectors. This is a connector for a trailer. It's waterproof. And this connector is actually the connection for the 3 wires that are for the lights on the back of the tour pack. So once again, the other part of that connector as well is tucked in here, out of the rain, out of the way. So on this side here, you have the 3-pin connector. I've actually cut off this one here because you only need 3. So I use these 3 here. And I have the connector, the 6-pin connector that was inside the speaker, which is now basically you connect it under the seat when you put the big seat, the 2-up seat for the thing. Same thing on this side here. Always keep the connector that doesn't have the pins under the seat, the one that's going to stay open. In other words, this one here is a lot more watertight than the one that's actually got the pins sticking out. So that will stay with the tour pack when it comes off. So the wires go here. Finally, the last wire is the wire for the intercom and the CB for the rear seat that is usually found over here in this loop and is hooked up to the back. This one here, I have it, I just tucked it inside the saddlebag. Okay, it doesn't pinch it. There's a foam that actually goes there and is hidden there. Now, I don't use my CB, so that's a moot point, not using it. Antenna for the CB is tucked under there. The radio on the fairing I do use. Mostly I use an MP3 for music or a CD, but the radio is nice to have it functioning. So what I did, now there's many options with this. I ordered an antenna from Japan on eBay, and it came in and it was pretty crap. It was certainly not what I expected. So I went to my local, here we have Canadian Tire, in the US it's Pep Boys or whatever, and bought myself a shorty antenna. Comes with the wire, comes with about 2 feet of wire. And what I did is I merely zip tied it in. Get a flashlight and I'll show you a little bit better in detail. I just wired it in right here to the bottom of the fairing. Zip tied it in here. Zip tied it in there. I have the wires coming nice and neat around. I have these fasteners, which you could buy at your local hardware. And then of course it plugs in directly in the radio. It works perfectly. I'm in the garage and the radio works fine, both AM and FM. A lot of people say that an antenna is actually, the length of the antenna is actually tuned for an FM radio. So if you start cutting your antennas, that doesn't work. So in the back, I removed the CB antenna. as well as the FM antenna. And I have these decorative caps, which, if you remove them, bought them at the good people at Flht. This, I have a solo seat. These are actually the same nuts that go to hold the solo seat in. Now, you'll never be using both at the same time. If you have the solo seat in, I'll use the nuts to hold the solo seat in. I also have a fender bib. I've ordered myself a new screw because this one I don't like. But if you're going to put the tour pack on, these have to come off so that you can put your big seat on, and instead of throwing these somewhere in the garage where you're going to lose them, put them on top of your antenna. They fit on the cap for the antenna, and they fit on the cap for the CB. It's not ideal because they don't go all the way down. So what I might do is I might cut this screw here and get it to go. Now the hardware I bought, and it's the same hardware that you see online. It wasn't cheap. Came with a whole bunch of extra hardware. But this is it. It comes, it hooks on down below on the one screw. You remove your chrome cap on the top of the shock. It's fairly simple. And I have a piece here. You just gotta make sure it's lined up. I have two spacers on the back one, or the front one if you will, and the big one here in the back for the rear one. I used the one bolt that I used was the one that they provided for this, for the thick one in the back. All the other ones I used Harley bolts that were actually holding on to my the old tour pack rack, because they are stainless. The ones from Japan are not that great, so I prefer using the Harley ones that I know are stainless and are not going to rust in the water. So that's pretty well it. Tour pack comes off. I'm not going to say easy, it's relatively easy, but I can have the whole setup from touring mode to street glide if you want, with the solo seat, which I have over here. Again, courtesy of the good people at Flht. So this is more the look, if you can imagine it, without the tour pack in the back. All in all, it took me about 2 days to do, and this is on a weekend working kind of on and off. That's about it, really. It really wasn't as challenging as I thought it was going to be. Oh, by the way, all the wires have been soldered. So you actually have 6, 12, 24, 27 connections to solder. There's 6 inside each speaker, and then you have 6 that are under the seat, as well as the 3 for the lights on the tour pack. The intercom that gets tucked into the saddlebag stays the same. Yeah, so all of the connections are soldered, and I put shrink tape over them once it's finished. This stuff here, you slide it over the connection, and then you solder, you heat it up, and it shrinks to the thing. And then of course I retaped everything with electrical tape just to make it as watertight as possible. That's about it for that. Like I said, everything works, everything is functional. So don't be swayed if you're looking to do a conversion from the tour pack to, like I said, the kind of the street glide look with a solo seat. The only reason they say it's not available for the Ultra Classic is because they don't want you to buy it and try and remove the tour pack, only to find out there's all these wires dangling that you have to take care of, and then you get upset and you want to return it. So that's pretty well it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them. For all of you guys that are riding already, good for you. This is what I have to wait for. As yes, we live in beautiful Montreal, but unfortunately the snowbanks are immensely high this year. We're probably in for another 2 months of this snow before I get to ride. So if you're already riding, keep the shiny side up and have fun. Bye.